Okay, so the key to this problem, this is a related rates problem, and the key to this one is remembering that there's a proportion going on, okay? Make sure you read it carefully. But the size of the container they give you, the radius is 5, and the height is 10, and those two things aren't changing, so we put them on the figure. But the radius of the water is changing as this container either fills or empties with water. It's evaporating, so it's emptying. And the height is also changing, so those are variables. So the key is you're going to be wanting to do the derivative of this, but you're going to want to get rid of one of the variables, either the r or the h. And the only way to do that is to know the proportion. Big R is to little r as big H is to little h. Then cross multiply, and then figure out, wait until you know which variable you need to isolate. So now we're going to have to read the problem again. It all comes down to the dt's, the rates, okay? The depth is changing at a rate of negative 3/10. So in variable speak, dh dt is negative 3/10. And it's negative because the height is getting smaller. Right now we need to know, what else do they give you? Either another rate, or what else do they ask me? Let's read the problem again and look for something about a rate. Okay. Find the rate of change of the volume. So dv dt is what they want. Okay, these two things tell you which variables you want in the problem. I want to have h's and v's in the problem, which means I need to get rid of this r right here. So solve this equation over here for r. Divide by 10 on both sides, and r is equal to h over 2. And now I can replace the r in the original equation with h over 2 in order to have just two variables in the problem. So I'm going to replace the r with h over 2 and simplify completely. The r is h over 2, but I still have to square it. Okay, square the top, you get h squared. Square the bottom, you get 4, and I still have another h. Simplify, multiply the numbers together, and they're both on the bottom. So I have a 1/12 pi h cubed. Okay, now this means find the freaking derivative. I can do that. So now here's my problem with the right variables. Now do the derivative. And remember, every time you do the derivative of a variable, tack on a dt. Okay, so the derivative of v is dv dt. And again, that stands for how fast volume is changing. Over here, we really only have one variable, and that's the h, so we can do a power rule. 3 times 1/12 is 3/12, or 1/4, pi h squared dh dt. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this other stuff on the side because we don't really need that anymore. Okay, once you have the dt's in the problem, once you have the rates, you now have time involved, and now you stop and reread the problem and look for this moment in time. Okay, dv dt was the question. That's unknown. I won't be able to fill that in. Pi, I can leave alone. H, did they give me h? Whether they give me h or r, it doesn't matter because I had that proportion that I just erased where I could figure it out anyway. Okay, but let's read. They give us that h is 5. So now is the moment to fill in that h is 5 and square it. And dh dt was negative 3/10. And now I just got to multiply all that stuff together. Okay? So dv dt equals, in the numerator I have a negative 75, in the denominator I have a 40 pi. Okay, pi is still there. And oopsies, I should have simplified. I could have simplified before that. I can divide by 5 now, or backtrack and divide by 5 here. Divide these both by 5. Okay, redo my math. It'll be the same as simplifying this fraction. So either way, and you get negative 15 over 8 pi, which again would have been the same as dividing both of these by 5. So this should be the final answer, but the next thing that could come up is, what does it mean? The fact that this is negative means that the volume of water is decreasing at 15/8 pi units per something or other. Let me reread the problem and figure out what my units are. So this was centimeters per hour for the height. So this is, since it's volume, cubic centimeters per hour. And that's it. Hope that helped. That was number 3 from the AB test, and it's number 11 for BC.